If you take a piece of paper and tear it in half, you can keep tearing again and again and again and again until it gets really small. Can you continue to divide without limit, or does there come a point at which you cannot divide the fragment of paper? The answer is yes, there had to be a limit. Democritus called the smallest fragment the atom. The atom is the basic unit of all living things. So then you might ask, what makes up an atom? The answer is subatomic particles, and there are three. The subatomic particles that make up atoms are protons, neutrons, and electrons. Protons and neutrons are in the nucleus, but protons are positively charged particles and neutrons are neutral and carry no charge. Electrons, however, are negatively charged particles and they surround the nucleus. When you look at the periodic table, what is H, O, or C? These symbols represent an element. An element is pure substance that consists entirely of one type of atom. For example, O stands for oxygen. Oxygen's atomic number is 8, meaning that each atom of oxygen has 8 protons and 8 neutrons, and consequently 8 electrons. Isotopes are atoms of the same element that differ in the number of neutrons they contain. For example, this isotope of oxygen has 2 more neutrons than it normally would. A chemical compound is a substance formed by the chemical combination of 2 or more elements. Water has the chemical formula of H2O. Atoms in compounds are held together by chemical bonds. There are 2 types of chemical bonds: ionic bond and covalent bond. An ionic bond is formed when 1 or more electrons are transferred from one atom to another. Covalent bonds form when electrons are shared between the atoms. Water is surprising stuff. Water is a common compound which can be found in nature in forms of solid, liquid, or gas. Let's start out with the popular formula H2O. The 2 hydrogen and the 1 oxygen atoms are connected together in what we know as a hydrogen bond. A water molecule is polar because the oxygen atom on one end of the molecule has a slight negative charge, and the hydrogen atom end has a slight positive charge, which creates an uneven distribution. Hydrogen bonds are weaker than covalent or ionic bonds. Hydrogen bonds result in cohesion and adhesion. Cohesion is an attraction between molecules of same substance, like an attraction of one water molecule to another water molecule. Water has the highest cohesion of any non-metallic liquid. Adhesion is an attraction between molecules of different substances which lead to a cool effect called capillary action. One of the properties of water is it expands when it freezes, making it less dense than liquid water. That's why ice floats rather than sinks. Water is also known for its awesome dissolving properties. This is why water is called a universal solvent. The substances that are dissolved in water are called hydrophilic. When a substance can't be broken through the hydrogen bonds, they are called hydrophobic, or water-hating. Lemon is an example of acid. Acid in any substance tastes sour. Acid forms hydrogen ions in the solution and reacts with base to form a salt. Acids also have a pH lower than 7. Any water-soluble compound that tastes bitter produces extra hydrogen ions in the solution. Bases are able to turn the litmus paper to blue. A good example of this would be soap. Next is the pH scale, which measures the concentration of H+ ions and measures the strength of the acids and bases. The bases are measured from 9 to 14, and the acids are measured from 0 to 5. In between would be 6 through 8, and that would be considered neutral. Next are buffers. Most cells in the human body must generally be kept between 6.5 and 7.5, because if it were too acidic or too basic, it would affect our cells. So buffers are weak acids or bases that react with strong acids and bases to prevent sharp changes in pH. For example, hemoglobin. Organic compounds are molecules that are necessary for all living things on Earth to survive. Organic compounds are compounds that contain carbon. Carbon can bond together to single, double, or triple covalent bonds to create rings. Carbon have 4 valence electrons. Each electron can form with another atom to form a strong covalent bond. 4 groups of organic compounds are carbohydrates, lipids, nucleic acids, and proteins. Let's start with the basic ingredient for life, carbohydrates. Carbohydrates is the source of energy for living things. Plants use carbs for structural purposes. Carbs have a formula of CH2O. Carbs are made of single sugar called monosaccharides, which include glucose, galactose, and fructose. When many monosaccharides connect together, it forms polysaccharides, which act as a storage of energy for living things. A lot of people try to avoid fat, but fat acts as an important part of our body. We need fat. Lipids can be used to store energy, protection, and some lipids are an important part of the cell membrane. Lipids are made of triglycerides, or cholesterol rings.
Go. Oh, my hair is so pretty.
Must be because of all the proteins.
Proteins are an important part of almost all of the parts of our body. Proteins are polymers, which are polymers of amino acids. It's important to know what amino acids are. If you know your organic compound functional group, you know half of it. Let's take a look. Think back, amino group. An amino group looks just like this. At one end, connect with carbon and a carboxyl group at the other end. And at the top, connect the H and the R group at the bottom. Protein acts as transportation for our bodies, like hemoglobin transports the oxygen to blood. Proteins also help defend our body and it also helps digest food. Nucleic acids contain hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, carbon, and phosphorus. There are two types of nucleic acids: ribonucleic acid, RNA, and deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA. RNA is single-stranded, while DNA has a double helix. Nucleic acids carry genetic information storage and form structures within the cell. This is why you might look like your father or your mother or a grandparent. Now we have chemical reactions. Chemical reactions always involve the changing of chemical bonds, and the energy is released or absorbed whenever chemical bonds are formed or broken. Let's take a look at the energy absorbing reaction. The activation energy is the energy that is needed to get the reaction to occur, and the other one is energy releasing reactions, which often occur spontaneously. So far we've gone over what makes up atoms, properties of water, and where our energy comes from. I hope you enjoyed our introduction to biochemistry.